Welcome to the Mitchell Pehlke Lacrosse Show presented by Duke Cannon. We have a little bonus episode for you guys coming straight off the press from the PLL Draft. On today's episode, we have 3 guests. The Redwoods GM and Joe Spallina, his son Joey, who just got drafted by the Maryland Whipsnakes, and then the Utah Archers head coach and GM, Chris Bates, who took a short stick D-Midi with the first overall draft pick for the first time ever. And myself and the guys will give you our first reactions on the 2026 PLL Draft. Hey, Joe, we clap it up. We're going to keep it natural tonight, baby. We got Trader Joe Killer and his son, Joey.
Here we go.
What's up, you nerd?
Just like that. We felt this action on Twitter. We've kind of felt this in the vibes. We have father-son combo. Do you guys want to start by saying anything to our co-host Dukes?
I mean, you're just
the
biggest Cuse hater of all time.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Hold on.
I haven't done it.
Coming from a Garden
Cuse beats
City
Denver.
fan, no, that just checks out.
Me? I haven't done a single thing all
Just a
year.
Garden City homer.
If somebody has to give you bulletin board material, I'll play that role.
Yeah, you're gonna play that
there's
role.
plenty. There's plenty. Trust.
That was a good back and forth
Twitter
for
is
that.
fueling the Cuse locker room right now. They're just like proving
Totally,
wrong week
totally
after
is.
week.
Dukes,
Totally
you're firing
is.
the boys up. You're firing the boys up because I send them clips of you chirping them, and then it's full circle. So I'm going to ask you to keep that coming.
Good. I'll play
coming.
my role. I'm not going to change
that.
up. Yeah, I love that.
Joey, let's start with you, and then obviously we'll get to your pops. But this obviously was this is something you've been waiting for your whole entire life, right? We saw the flashback to All-Star Weekend back in the MLL days. You're obviously on the sideline with your pops, the Lizards days. But what did it mean for you to obviously get this dream come true, to obviously get drafted?
Yeah, it's just unreal. I don't really think it's really kicked in yet. But you know, to get the opportunity, right, to play with Rob and all those guys is just going to be unreal. You know, I like to say it. I feel like me and Rob kind of grew up together. You know, he obviously got drafted. I think it was 2014, and
yep.
I was like 11 or 10, and we practically just grew up on the same sideline. So it's I'm just pumped. I'm just so pumped.
I like that. And
Watch your mouth, young man.
Yeah. I was probably one of the only guys. There's been a ton of guys that have been saying that you were going to get drafted number 1 by Pops. Pops, we need to hear what was the final and best offer you said to Bates and the Archers.
Well, in an effort to not disrupt my locker room, we made a very strong effort. The picks included, there were picks this year, next year, you know. Obviously, you know, a deal of that magnitude, you're going to deal with some players as well. There was also another deal in place that, you know, that was a strong possibility. Well, it was a done deal if the Whips didn't take him, that he would have been, you know, we had a deal set up where we would slingshot into that. So there was a lot going on, you know, to try to get, you know, the best player in the draft. He's the best player in the draft. He's walked the walk forever. You know, he's had to deal with a million people trying to rip him down, but at the end of the day, you bet on Joey because he's produced at every level. He's, you know, a public school kid. Everyone doubted, you know, from growing up, he was only good because he was on the same team as Brennan, and then, you know, and then he playing up 2 years, and then you go to Cuse, and, you know, if you remember a few things, I think tonight's a great night to reflect on. Cuse was 4-12 the season before him and his class got there. And not only that, their best player, Tucker Dordovic, decided he transferred out. So they had the weight of the world plus that, you know, and that entire class, you know, I know that everyone's like, oh, well, is Cuse really? If you think about where Cuse was when those boys walked in the door, and we say it, I say it all the time, like, leave it better than you found it. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't heard in a good 3.5 years anyone talk about the curse of number 22 anymore.
Oh my God.
That's true. I like that. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
And not only did that young man, who I'm extremely proud of, and you could tell that, but I also, and he'll be the first one to tell you, I don't lie to my kids. I tell him how it is. When he's good, I tell him he's good. When he sucks, I'm the first one to tell him, that's not good enough, and there's a standard that he set, and he's got to live up to it. But those guys came in there 4-12. The best player transfers out, and and I laugh I think Joey's was by far the safest pick in the draft. And you know why I can say that? His freshman year, Brett May guarded him. Chris Fake, who's our number one cover guy, guarded. He got guarded by so many of the number one since the day you step on campus. And you gotta, he had to walk the walk from. There was no hiding. There was no number one attackman. That he had to be the number one guy on day one. And those guys, that whole class. Joey, drink some water, will you? What are we doing over there? There you go. See, I'll never stop being his father. I'll never stop being his father. So at the end of the day, those guys did what they did, and for him to, the Rob thing is incredible because there was a text chain that went a few weeks ago with Joey, myself, and Rob that has existed for many, many, many years. Since Rob was shooting around with Joey and they, and training him off the field, and where Rob said, "I don't think there's a chance in hell you'll make it to 3, but wouldn't that be a full circle moment if we could play together?" And lo and behold, there they are going to be running out there together, playing pro lacrosse together.
I got one more question, I'll pop it to Dukes. Do the other coaches know to just not touch your 91 Long Island guys? The connections.
91 guys.
Yeah. Do the other coaches know, that's Joe's baby, let's hands off?
Oh, my God, I know it, right? I'm like, what are we doing here, guys? Well, that group is, Marcus Wertheim's a 91 guy, Leo's a 91 guy. We've got a good group of McAdory, obviously, Tenenza, all those, Xavier Arline,
Mikey. Mikey Bain.
Mikey Bain played with us for a large amount of time too. So, I think those are, I always say you dance with the girl you brought to the prom. That it's one of those things where those kids all played at a high level together and they know each other really well, and they've all really developed into great players and great young men. That's the biggest thing.
And then when it's not the 91 Long Island guys, Anthony Kelly just slides in and takes the Buckeyes. Cullen Brown, Dante Bowen. So it's
CV.
Yeah.
Cullen Brown and Dante Bowen is a former Buckeye too, right? So
exactly. So when it's not the Long Island guys, AK will come scoop up the rest.
I know I haven't been fair to Cuse this year, but 2 weeks ago we had on the pod, I said Dante Bowen, he's a bona fide Joe Spallina pick. And I called the shot. I was like, he reminds me of Carter Rice. I think you've had 8 draft picks in the last 2 years, and I want to say 5 have connections to either Team 91, Syracuse, or Ohio State. How easy did it make you evaluating talent just because you've known this recruiting class since they were 12 years old?
It's huge, and I think the personalities too, and that's a big part of it too, because pro lacrosse, a big part of it is being able to, that locker room is so important, right? So, knowing that you're bringing good guys in, like-minded people as well, like guys that obviously love it and are really students of the game and really are, they'll do anything to get better. And the other part of this is they're going to work on their own, because the biggest thing that happens when these guys go pro is there's nobody waking them up in the morning to get to practice. There's nobody forcing them to go to the gym. So it's all got to be self-driven. And, Joey's he's an absolute freak that way. 5 a.m. at home, regardless if he's out the night before, he's up and at the gym. And it's a reminder of hey, you know what? You want to play, you want to go out, you want to do things, you still got to be up, you still got to take care of yourself. I tell Joey all the time, he's going to laugh at me, but I always say, listen, pal, you have to outwork everybody because of me and my genetics. You're either going to be a sick lacrosse player or a mason, right? I mean, he's going to lay a brick somewhere. So, But I think that's one of those guys, they got to want it. It's got to be important to them. They got to be, major in lacrosse.
Joey, I got one for you really quick. You're playing with your teammate, Billy Dwan, both Terps. Oh, not Terps, Whipsticks, sorry. It's going from the Terp snakes to the orange snakes. Yeah. But what does it look like being a first-round draft pick at Syracuse on getting drafted on a random Tuesday night in April? Like, how do you guys celebrate? Are you waiting for the weekend, or what's your plans?
We have a huge game Saturday against Colgate. So unlike probably a lot of schools, we're not allowed to go out during the week. We have early morning practice tomorrow. I'm a big stick to what I do guy. So I'm up and at it pretty early. So we'll wait on it. So
there we go.
We'll wait on it. I like that. Yeah.
Joey, to your dad's point, your class kind of brought back Syracuse. 5 players out of Syracuse drafted in this draft class, 4 of them in the first 2 rounds. Dukes just mentioned your ongoing teammate now, Billy Dwan. Your dad also got a good one in Michael Leo. Tell us what that watch party was like tonight. What was the energy like in that room?
It was awesome. We had every guy there. We had every coach. We had our strength guy. We had our equipment guy. We had everybody that's kind of been with us was there. Obviously, right? Like I only know like what's gonna happen for like 4 or 5 picks, just because I know someone. But my reaction to Billy getting picked was like just straight up, just like let's go. We're in a group chat. It's a guy who graduated last year, Dylan Skeeter, who's my best friend, and Billy, and we've been talking about it for weeks. Like I feel like when you like kind of break down teams, it's like they kind of need an attackman and they kind of need like a D guy, and we actually thought like a couple other teams were gonna do something like that, but it's just awesome. It's sick.
Yeah, going
Joey.
off that really quick, I just want to ask, what team, this morning you woke up, what team did you think you were going to be playing for by the end of the night?
That's, to be honest with you, I had a great conversation with Coach Bates. I was actually at the Islander Buffalo game. They played in Buffalo like last week, and I went. We had a great convo right before the game. I had a great conversation with Coach Holman. To be honest with you, I thought I was going to be a Redwood. I thought my dad was going to figure it out. And,
Dad, come on.
Pops.
Come on, Dad.
No. But no, like I really had no idea. I was just super pumped just to, be getting picked. I just couldn't wait. So
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Congratulations, seriously. Best of luck all the way.
Joey.
I won't be rooting against
Joey,
you too hard.
Hoagie, what do you got?
No, Joey, I got one for you. I know, obviously, you don't get to pick who wears number 22 next year, and your dad just said ever since you got on campus, no one's talking about the curse of 22 at Syracuse anymore. If you had one teammate or one guy you could give it to next year if you had the chance to do it, who would wear number 22 on next year's Syracuse team?
Careful,
Great
young
question,
man.
James.
wow.
Great
Careful,
question,
young man.
James.
Careful, Jake. You better say your brother Jake.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's a safe answer.
Like I feel like I kind of have to. But I don't. I mean, it's kind of tough to be honest with you. Just like if
I'll
we
interrupt there. I don't think any of you, because I didn't know, and I know he didn't know what it means to wear that there. Not just to wear it, but like what comes with wearing that, like off the field, the intensity. Like if you have a great game, you're Jesus. If you have a bad game, you're literally for sale sign on your front lawn. Like there's a lot. It's the burden is really, 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 and it's not made for everybody. And if anyone was ever made for it, it was him. In the current landscape of athletics with social media, it was a tough trek, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. There were many nights where I was way more of a like just talking him through things and the outlash of people where it's always 22's fault.
Dukes is burner.
Yeah, I don't have
Dukes is burner.
I
Dukes
saw
is
that in
burner.
Dirty
Joe,
Dog.
Dukes is burner.
Coach Spallina, I got one last one for you. Okay, so when the Archers didn't pick Joey, right? Cannons had the second pick. Coach Holman, he coaches his son. Were you trying to snooze in there and be like, Coach, come on, you got to coach your son. I want to be the GM for my. Did you pull any strings with the father-son combo there?
Maybe he didn't want to get outshined. I don't know, but he made a choice. So he made a choice. And listen, that's a choice that I will probably remind Joey of for a long time. So, and as well as the other team that, that also skipped him over. So, all kidding aside, it's an honor to be drafted. But Joey is like, hey, listen, man, I think he's going to go somewhere where he's going to be surrounded and protected in that lineup, and I think it's a really good spot to be with a guy he's idolized growing up to be able to play alongside of him and allow him to mentor him, in his first couple of years for sure.
Well, before we hear a word from our sponsor, Duke Cannon, Joey, Joe, we appreciate you guys hopping on. Memorable night. Thank you.
Thanks, boys.
Duke Cannon makes high-quality grooming goods that keep you dialed in. At work, at the gym, at the field, whether you're grinding through the day or running to your late-night lacrosse league, their products are built to keep up. Use code PLL2026 at DukeCannon.com for 15% off your order. Or find Duke Cannon grooming goods at Target, Walmart, or even on Amazon. Coach Face, baby, clap it up.
Let's go. Let's go.
How does it feel to be on the Mitchell Pehlke Lacrosse Show, firsthand post-2026 draft? Is this what was this what you wanted to do?
It's better than the 4-hour drive I'm about to embark upon. So
I like that. I like that a lot.
I am honored. I'm honored to be on. This is a blast. So good to see you all.
I like that. I think first question for me, I want to go straight into the fire. What was the best offer you received tonight?
You think I'm allowed? I can't answer that one. It wasn't good enough. I'll leave it at that. It was.
Was it good? Could you at least give us a team, maybe?
More.
Well, it's well.
What was the Italian?
Of course. I mean that one was natural. but I mean that made sense. And then the other one, which almost reinforced our first pick, was somebody else really wanted to move up to get the kid that we got. If that makes sense. So I'm not telling you who, but like that, and that was a persistent, like, what will it take? What will it take? So, we knew the caliber of the kid that we ultimately got was real, and we're excited as hell to have him.
Coach Bates.
One more of my Dukes, yeah. Okay. This is the second year for you guys. It's kind of a little bit untraditional, unconventional route from a draft standpoint, not drafting the star offensive player. Why is that?
Well, going into last year, we were pretty good offensively, and we had won 2 championships in a row. So you have a different mindset. This year it's a different drill where we've got to redefine ourselves, and it is unconventional to take the first short stick ever to be strong in that position. But obviously, we believe in what we're doing and feel like we have to play differently. We've got to be physical defensively. We want to short sticks are like cornerbacks. If you can take somebody out, and not have to slide, that's pretty dangerous. To have the caliber of guys that we do, now we're going to be able to run the field that much more, we feel like, which is it's going to be fun. We're going to play different. We have to play different. And without Haas, you're not going to replace Haas, except we felt like with a short stick that's going to erase somebody else too. It ain't easy to beat this kid. So, me, I like to be a little unconventional.
What does Aiden McGuire, so first off, Grant Ament we had on the show 2 weeks ago. Clearly you're a listener, because Grant Ament, we asked him who would he take with the number 1 pick, and he said Aiden McGuire. So thank you for listening to the show. Clearly you listened to Grant
thanks
Ament
for being a subscriber.
And clearly you listened to me back in August where I said, when you guys got the number 1 pick, I said you guys should take Aiden McGuire. You have really been the first coach, in my opinion, who really knew the importance of the short stick D-midi position. You've gone the unconventional route. You grabbed Piper Bond earlier than people expected, Bo Pedersen, and another short stick D-midi. You have a really, really strong short stick D-midi group. I know how good and how talented Aiden McGuire is. What does he do differently than the other guys you have in that unit that made you want to get him at number 1?
I mean, those guys are really good. We're spoiled there. Aiden's got an edge about him that just, I think will ripple on our team. I think, that translates everybody else, in their emotion and how they compete. So that to me is going to be just something that helps define us that much more. Sometimes we switch picks. I want to go double picks. I want to be aggressive. So we've talked to Tony Resch is the best defensive coach in the world in my estimation. And sometimes we're conservative. and I want to be less conservative and be more in your face. And Aiden is that, and then some. And then he can jam it down your throat going the other direction. Like, Kevin Understein, or I think it was Kevin, it was like, he's going to be one of the fastest kids in the PLL day one. Like, it's a short field. Let's, I tell every team I ever coach, like, you play offense when a save is made or when the ball's on the ground or face off wings. Like, we are going to have a mentality of going at you. And I think we have to create offensive opportunities differently. So this kid does all that, no doubt.
Coach, I want to ask a little bit more about that edge and dig in there, because I think it goes beyond Aiden McGuire. You also drafted Will Schaller, who slides like an archer, in my opinion, and Leo Johnson, who likes to talk his talk on the field. So I'm curious how much of that edge is something you look for in all of your draft prospects, maybe not just the number one pick this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to walk the talk, man. Like, if you can back it up, to me, this is big boy world. Like, you gotta compete. So, talking about Schaller, like, that's a top 5. Like, that value there for us. We just said, do we have this luxury? We weren't wowed by, what else we might get there enough to, like, outweigh the fact that I'm driving down the highway tonight going, a big smile on my face, picturing that kid in a jersey next year. Like, if he were in this year's draft, like, things could have gone differently because, that kid's a top 5 pick in my estimation, hands down. So it allows us next year also to do different things to address needs, not having, like, Warren Jeffrey probably retires. But yeah, edge, like, everybody like, I look at Leo Johnson, he's 5'0", but, like, watching him play and go at guys and make plays and play fearless, and the way people talk about his work ethic and how he just wants to play lacrosse. Again, all that stuff helps develop your locker room and your culture. And, again, we're getting a little bit old in some spots or time to, like, infuse some new energy. Like, to answer your question, yeah, these guys all add a lot of that.
One quick follow-up on Will Schaller. I just want to kind of confirm whether you know this or not, but there's some ambiguity about his eligibility given his injury. Like, will he have another year at Maryland, or you confirmed that he's going to play pro this summer?
He's not playing this summer. Like, right. We're banking him for next summer. So, yeah, he's not going back to Maryland. He's confirmed that. So, it's a serious enough injury where it's going to take some time to rehab. But, look at him. Like, my money's I'll bank on that. And I think he appreciates the fact that, a championship caliber team thinks enough of him to draft him where we did. And, we're going to slot him in very happily next year.
Coach Bates, at the beginning of the draft, Paul opened it up with talking about congratulating all the guys who are going to get drafted, but then also talked about the guys who don't get drafted tonight. There are players who can play in this league. He mentioned Dalton Young, obviously ended up starting on the Outlaws, who went to a championship. Are there any kind of guys that didn't get drafted tonight that you have your eyes on, you're hoping to sign and add to this roster before training camp?
100%. We talked about trading a 4th round this year for a 4th round next year, because there is a guy that we feel like, didn't get drafted that can help us. As a couple guys said no, and then as it trickled, we're like, well, these teams are not going to take him. I've already texted that kid. So we have the number 1, we have the 33rd pick. Like, we have the number 1 waiver pick. Okay. So we know, again, we get, much like going in today, like, we get the next dude. So, and that combine event on May 27th, like, we go in going, we get whoever we want. Like, we take the first pick there. So, yes, absolutely. There are guys that will rise and help a lot of teams, and we're fired up that we get the first pick at it.
Coach Bates, last one from me. I think that since you've come into the league, you've been probably the best GM. I love how you're one of the last people really holding on to the GM and coaching role. The process is different than other sports, as everyone can imagine. Like, it's not like the NBA where you got the combine, or the NFL, like you got the combine and the interviews. So when you're interviewing players, if you interview them at all, what's one question that you ask them that you really can identify them as, like, a player that could fit the Archers culture?
It's a great question. I talked to Aiden McGuire again today and asked him about his family. I asked about if his siblings were athletes. I asked about him as a competitor, how he was raised. And you just kept hearing, like, this sort of yes sir, no sir, and I'm gonna bring my lunch pail every day. Kind of, you could just hear it in how he approached, his conversation with me, and it just was one last reassurance. Like, I want to coach this kid like this. So we it's about the game. It's about yes. You want a guy that's committed to it, right? You know, Ivy guys or guys that, you know, want to work on Wall Street. You're like, like, are you available? Yes and no. I'm like, can you get into market on Thursday? Like, is it that kind of job? Like, so you flush out those logistics and you hear about, like, Ryan Steins wants to be a lacrosse player.
Right.
Like, that's what the dude wants to do. He wants to be in strength training. Like, so that investment in him, I think, is going to, you know, that commitment level. And then we just want to know about them as people. We want them to know us as people. We want to build that relationship, you know, ask them about their family, ask them about, you know, their school or their girlfriend or and I think that is important because it humanizes what we're doing, and we want the right people as much as we want the right players.
Quick follow-up to that, because what I'm getting at is you interviewed Aiden McGuire today. So when you woke up this morning, did you not know that you were going to draft Aiden McGuire for sure?
I've talked to him before, so it's not.
Yeah, of course. No, of course. I meant, like, did you wake up this morning knowing he was your pick?
Yeah, we knew in the fall in some ways, like, and you know, everybody, that was the standard bearer of, like,
love it.
Is there anybody else here that, whether it's via trade or via draft, that, you know, we're willing to lose this kid? And I kept, you know, we all kept saying to ourselves, like, nah, man, this kid's a difference maker, and we're really comfortable. So again, pick 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, I would love to coach Joey Spallina and Silas,
right?
And, you know, Evan Plunkett, like those dudes. Like, draft, it's an emotional thing because you get excited about potentially at 9. I was like, oh, I wish that guy was there, but you know, so you get excited about potentially coaching guys, but then, you know, you get what you get, and you get excited about that too.
Thanks, Coach.
So Coach, talking to you, it sounds like everyone was like, the Redwoods are going to trade up. The Redwoods are going to get Joey. It's going to happen. Like, there's no way it doesn't happen. It's going to come whether it's days before. Seems like you guys were pretty set on never really trading that number 1 pick and just taking Aiden McGuire straight up.
No, we listened, but we needed to be wowed, frankly. Like, and with the number 1 pick, you know, honestly, to me, you know, it was for us, it was always essentially a 2-person draft in some regard. It was Joey or Aiden. You know, I have the utmost respect for Joey and his game and the career he's going to have. You know, Silas we considered, Mikey we considered. So, you know, you think about those guys, but at the end of the day, again, you kind of got to go with your gut and have a plan. And we just felt like, you know, this was where we wanted to go. There wasn't enough, whether it was a player or somebody at whatever other pick, you know, that it just never was enough. It was never enough for us to say this is more important than us getting Aiden McGuire.
Love that.
Yeah,
Coach
again,
Bass.
I look at the draft and I'm like, nope. Like at 5 or 6 or 7, I'm like, and it's with all due respect, but to that relative to what you're going to get either as a player or, you know, not having McGuire. So, yeah, man, kid's going to be a beast.
You don't have to play
I
against
love the
him,
pick.
so that's a good part.
Yeah.
Well, safe travels on your 4-hour ride home.
Thanks,
Bates,
Coach.
we appreciate you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Coach.
Thanks, Coach
See you,
Bates.
dude. See you guys.
Now let's chat some of our biggest winners of this draft. Hoagie, let's start with you. Obviously, those fingers have been firing on Twitter all day, the past 2 hours especially. Who is your biggest winner from the 2026 PLL Draft?
My biggest winner is the Philadelphia Water Dogs, and I think they won the draft today, but they've also kind of won the offseason as well, getting Gavin Adler, signing him in free agency. I know Dave Cottle, the new GM of the Water Dogs, him and Bill Tierney now are kind of going side by side and, you know, really kind of build this Water Dogs team. Their offense is as lethal as can come. They already had Kieran McCardle, CJ Kirst, and obviously Michael Sowers. So that's already a star-studded lineup. Then you add Silas Richmond, who some, including you, Kev, said maybe was the best player, could have gone number 1. Guy does things that no one else does in the league. So you add Silas Richmond. Then you get Matt Collison in the second round as a guy who slides all the way back, big midfielder, very hard to stop, dodging downhill. And then I think later in the draft, to me, is where they really want it. Obviously, you got 2 studs at the top. You get Josh Yago. I understand he has the military thing. You don't really know. He is confirmed playing in the PLL this summer, but you have the questions with years to come with him. But either way, you're getting a stud there with a lot of upside in Josh Yago. He's leading the number 1 team, Notre Dame, in points this year. You add in Brendan Staub, who I know Dukes, that's your hidden gem in the draft from Cornell, Garden City guy. You add him. And then Kyle Lewis from Adelphi, you pick up late. He might have a little bit of adjustments coming from D2 over to D1, but that's the kind of guy, Mitch, late in the draft, you have a pick to use. Take a flyer on a guy like that. His upside's great. He was going to go to Penn State in the portal, so you know he has the ability. Bill Tierney, Dave Cottle, Philadelphia Water Dogs won the 2026 PLL Draft.
Yeah,
Bang.
well,
Okay.
Bill Tierney's, hold on real quick, got to respond to that. Bill Tierney's got to warm up to letting some of those attackmen play midfield. That was a problem last year. Jake Taylor, inactive, healthy scratch down the stretch. Now you got 5 or 6, don't even forget, Zed Williams is coming back from an injury. So you got like 6 starting attackmen. Some of them are going to have to play midfield because you can't be healthy scratching everybody. And I guess, I don't know, is this the end of Jake Taylor? Unfortunately, maybe it is, but I don't see where he fits into this offense with all these attackmen.
It's a conflict of interest, Kev, because your favorite player last year, Jake Taylor, and now your favorite player this year, Silas Richmond.
I know, and I like him on that righty attack, so we'll see where he fits in. I do think he was the best player in this draft overall athletically. Is it my turn for biggest winner?
Let me go real quick, and I'll come back to you.
Sure.
I'm going to agree with Hoagie on the Water Dogs. Peacock said it on the broadcast live with the Silas Richmond aspect, and then incorporating, you have Sowers at X and then CJ Curse on the left side or the right side, like elite, right? That could be a potential team that we're obviously talking about later on in the summer. But Kev, are you agreeing or disagreeing with Hoagie and I?
I mean, talent-wise, I agree. Yeah. Yes. I love Silas Richmond. I thought he was awesome. I'm a huge Matt Collison fan as well. I just think that maybe some of their, I don't know. I wonder, we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but I wonder if there was maybe a little bit of a panic pick involved.
There's the one thing is like there's one ball, and it kind of felt like that hypothetical situation in the NFL draft where like your team needs a quarterback, and the Water Dogs just drafted every single quarterback available, and they're like, something's got to work. Like one of these guys has got to work on offense. Like, so I loved every pick individually. I can't really see the full picture, but I do think that like off the top of the read, like I think I can see why they're a draft winner for sure. I mean, I love the Brendan Staub pick. Like again, I've been saying it for 2 years. It's a guy that can make winning plays. I watched the guy guard Joey Spallina in high school on TV and like the Geico thing. And I was like, this guy's a stud. It's the first time I watched him play. And the way that, again, he could shoot the rock in transition. He could play. He's a Cullen Brown-esque player. I love those types of players in the PL to make immediate impact. I think he could have the nerd factor, like being an IB or something. I'm just sure of it. Like it's a Garden City guy who goes to Cornell. So I don't know the longevity in the league, but I know he's committed. Like I know it's a workhorse. I know that everything that I've heard about the kid is just like committed. And when I asked him last year, he seemed very committed to want to go pro.
Kev, let's go to you. Your biggest winner team-wise from this past draft?
My biggest winner, maybe carrying over some of that winning spirit from Champ Series, is Stephen Brooks and the Carolina Chaos. They came into the day with 2 picks. I think they were sitting at 4. They wanted Chad Palumbo with that. They were able to trade back, end up with 4 picks at the end of the day, still get Chad Palumbo at 7. I think there's maybe a little bit of a head scratcher with Peter Detweiler in the 4th round. People didn't know who he was or what he brings, but I like that they stuck to their guns and they got their guys. I think Eric Spanos in the 3rd round, maybe not the most exciting pick, but good value. He's a good player, and 3rd round, I don't think a lot of people expected him to be there at that time. So I like the Carolina Chaos draft in terms of just like they got a lot of guys, more than they probably expected to have at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Kev. I think when you go into a draft and you get 2 picks and you turn it into the amount that they've gotten, and they stuck to the players, they stuck to their process. And I always love a team when you kind of configure it. Like last year's draft, the Chaos drafted players and we're like, what the hell? And then we came out of that. They over-exceeded expectations. They won the Champ Series. I think when you know your process and you stick to it, I can respect that.
Yeah, Spencer Ford, I think we might be talking about in the future potentially Stephen Brooks and Spencer Ford being the best head coach GM duo in the PLL.
We'll hold you to that this year, Hoagie.
See, what they did last year.
No, I agree.
We saw it. We just saw it tonight, right?
The first time
Carolina
together,
Chaos
they won a championship.
Traded the 4th overall pick to the Outlaws in exchange for the 7th, 22nd, and 28th overall. And then we see Plunkett from Army get taken. Was that your guys' biggest shock in this year's draft?
That was my biggest shock by a mile. Honestly, watching it live, I was completely shocked. Not because of Evan Plunkett as a player, his talent. He's a PLL player. He's a stud. If he was not at Army and he was in an ACC Big Ten Ivy League school, no-brainer, stud, no one's saying that. The question is, for the Outlaws, you trade all the way up. You need a defense. That was kind of your big priority. You made the trade for Ben Randall earlier in the day, so you kind of cleared that up. So maybe hindsight 2020, you look at it and say, maybe there was some room for them to move since they didn't need that close defender anymore since they picked it up with Ben Randall. To me, to jump up to 4, right, and give up 7, 22, and 28, Mitch, and you only had 2 picks in the draft. You had Evan Plunkett, and then they took Jack Taylor at 31st from Jacksonville. So you really didn't add any pieces. In the PLL, it's huge to add guys through the draft. We've talked about that in a bunch of, building your team really through the draft and adding. This is a team that went to a championship last year. It's like, how do we improve? Evan Plunkett gets you to improve. He's a stud. He'll play in the PLL most likely this year. We don't know the military commitment after that. But it seems like you're just buying it all on 1 year to me. And when I'm looking back on it, they had pick number 7. They traded up to 4. The chaos, Chad Palumbo was Stephen Brooks' guy the entire time. He was taking Palumbo. Silas Richmond was the way Bill Tierney talked. He was taking Silas Richmond at 5, the Water Dogs. And Joe Spallina was taking his Long Island guy, Mikey Leo, at 6. Yep. So you could have got Evan Plunkett at number 7. I know people will say, well, there could have been a trade or something, but bar none, you were going to be able to get Evan Plunkett at 7. You traded up to 4 to get him and mortgaged 3 picks in the process. That was a bit of a head scratcher to me and a big shock.
So I had a different read on the situation. Mine was, one, I think Evan Plunkett is that guy. He just had 3 goals, 3 assists against Navy in the Navy game. I've always, as someone that's been on this podcast as like probably stapled as like a non-Army guy, I've always been in on the Plunkett bros. Like I think Evan Plunkett, after watching the Yale game last year, I was like, that's a PLL player. The eye test is the eye test. Sudan trading up, it seems like a lot for an Army guy, right? Like mortgaging your future. What it told me was Sudan's not worried about his future. He's in win now mode. He's in it for the PLL for 1 to 2 years, and he's not thinking about the next coach or the next GM regime. He's thinking about win now, get the best player available. Hoagie's talking about, well, the trades and everything. Hoags, I think that these guys are close enough where they knew something. We just had Chris Bates on. We heard that he liked Evan Plunkett. We don't know if he was thinking about trading back in and giving another offer. So there's obviously coaches on the table that liked Evan Plunkett enough that a lot of it viewed him as a potential first-round pick. So I don't think it's so surefire that it would have went down the line like you said. But obviously hindsight's 20/20, right? But I do think that Sudan's not really thinking about the future, if you're catching my drift.
Yeah, let me add one more thing there. This is an Outlaws team that we talked over and over again as like a super team last year, 4 Wharton Award winners. Like we talked about, they needed defense. How much do they really, really need to get better? Like you might as well do what you can to get the guy you really want. And I had a slightly different read on the Bill Tierney aspect that you said, James, where I think that the Denver Outlaws jumped up. Everyone knew that the Water Dogs needed offensive midfielders. I think they had Evan Plunkett on their mind. And then when the Outlaws jumped above them and got Evan Plunkett, they didn't expect Silas Richmond to be there, but he was the best player available. So they just took him regardless of the immediate fit in their offense. And when Bill Tierney was asked about it, he was like, how can you turn down Silas Richmond? Great talent there. But we'll make it work. So we'll see. Now it's on Bill Tierney to make it work with all those people, but they needed offensive midfielders. Evan Plunkett, Duke just mentioned, 6 points in the Army-Navy game. I think he shot up a lot of radars right at the end.
And at the end of the day, you're getting a stud at Evan Plunkett. This is no criticism of him as a player. Like I said, if this guy was not at Army and you didn't worry about the longevity factor, this is a surefire, one of the best picks in the draft. You just have to consider the military commitment and how long he can play. It's tough to think if a guy you maybe get 1-2 years, is that worth the 4 pick? If you get a championship in the next 2 years, 100%. But they do always say, doesn't matter if anyone hates on it, if you're reaching, whatever. If this guy's your guy, if that was Pseudo's guy, like that's my number 1 guy, it doesn't matter what anyone says. You got to go get him, even if you reach early or not. So clearly Tim Sudan fell in love with Evan Plunkett. That was his baby. That was his guy. He wasn't going to risk anyone else taking him. He traded up. He gave a lot for it. We'll see if it pays off.
Such a pseudo guy. Like a guy, like I feel like a pseudo guy is someone that wears black socks, black Adidas cleats. And like that's just, it comes immediately to mind, right? Mitch knows the fashion aspect of it. Like it just, one of those picks that just makes sense. But again, Hoagie, you keep talking about like the future and stuff. Like, do you think that Sudan's going to be there in 2 years? Like, this doesn't seem like a GM that's acting like he's going to be there for another 3 years. This acts like a guy that's like, I have this team together with Jared Bernhardt on like a 2-year deal. Pat Cavanaugh's going to want money soon. Brendan O'Neill's getting off his rookie contract soon. Like, this is a guy that has his team together for 1 year, and he's like, F it. I'm going to put the best team possible on the field this year. Whatever happens in 3 doesn't even matter because I'm not going to even have all these pieces together anymore.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a valid point. I mean, Pseudo's been so close for so many years, even going back to the MLL days. We talked with Pseudo at PLL Media Days this year. Remember about like what it would mean to win a championship for the Outlaws, and he was honestly getting choked up and emotional talking with us on like how much that would mean for him to finally win one. And Obviously, we don't know his background and what he's really feeling, how much longer he has in the tank, but he is getting up there in age. He's been doing this, Mitch, for years and years, and at some point, just like any athlete, we saw Sergio Perkovic the other day, like, you got to hang up the cleats. You might have to hang up the whistle. So, in my mind, he's like, look, I love Evan Plunkett. That's my guy. I think he's a guy who can get us over the top. I'm giving it 1-2 years in the tank. Let's go get a championship. I don't see it in, like, a selfish way of, like, I don't care about the future. I think he's like, I've put so much into this sport, so much into this game. I want a championship. This is the guy I think gives us the best ability to do it. I'm going to get him. And as someone who's not biased and picking sides on teams, I would love to see Sudan, before he retires, get a championship, because talk about a guy who's given his life and given a lot to this game. Tim Sudan's one of the best in the business, one of the best Hall of Famers of all time. So
let me point out, by the way, I am picking a team. Like this Chrome hat, bring them back.
Yeah.
Let's expand.
I can't wait till they come back.
Bring them back.
Expand.
Paul, bring him back.
Mitch is a Beans fan.
Beans fan.
I was rocking
Coming soon,
I was rocking the Beans sweatshirt in Montauk this weekend. I got a couple. What's
go.
Beans lacrosse? Such an awkward question.
Let's flip from obviously the biggest wins to who we think is the best undrafted players still kind of on the board, right? There's going to be some potential news to come out with how these guys are going to get potentially picked up by these teams. Stay tuned. But ultimately, let's go to the list and ultimately pick our best players that are currently still undrafted. I'm going to say Teddy Malone. I think back to when Paul Carcaterra talked about how did they let TJ Malone slip to the third round. I don't think Teddy Malone is as good as TJ Malone, but the way this guy plays, I think his game just fits as any sort of offensive position in the PLL. And I feel like he's going to be a sneaky pick where he doesn't have the biggest name. Obviously, he goes to Harvard, isn't really one of their like top guys, but ultimately the guy puts the ball in the back of the net. Dukes, I'm going to pop to you. Your biggest undrafted player still currently on the board.
Definitely. Can I actually? I was the only one that wasn't able to say my winner. Can I say my winner of the draft?
Yeah.
I didn't want to get skipped over. I loved your Teddy Malone pick, but just the disrespect
Wait, did you?
said.
I thought you said the Chrome.
Dude, are you effing with me right now? Are you janking my chain? No. My biggest winner of the draft, it's not that flashy. It's actually pretty straight and narrow. It's the Archers. Like, Kev was talking about making the pick and sticking to your guns like Spencer Ford. Like, I like that Chris Bates was being thrown all these offers. You had the Italian Mitchell Pehlke talking to the Italian Joe Spallina for the last year about, I just feel like the destiny of playing with your son, drafting your son, the draft picks. It's all we talked about. And I like how Chris Bates blocked out all the noise. He drafted his position. Now, I think Aiden McGuire, like I've talked about enough on this podcast, the short stick D-midi position, it's almost like the running back position in football. Me and Kev have talked about that a little bit at length, but I truly think that we just talked about in the episode with Kark, that the transitions on clean saves and the offenses you can create with an athletic specimen like Aiden McGuire's don't grow on trees. You're getting an eraser with the short stick D-midi on the defensive end. You're getting a transition monster on the offensive end. I don't think we've seen a short stick D-midi talent like this since Danny Logan and Terry in 2020. Shout out Ohio State. Shout out Columbus, Ohio. And I just think that it's the best pick possible. It might not have fit the immediate need, but it was the best player available. That's my winner. Just making the Aiden McGuire pick.
Okay, let's stick with you then. Biggest guy that's still on the board.
Garden City's own, Jack Hiskaden. Cornell
Give
kid
us your
again.
why.
Athletic freak, dad in the NFL. Maybe not the best off the draws, but the PLL face-off style, I think, fits him to be able to muck it up in the middle of the field and strong enough to play in the pros right away. I mean, he's like 6'3", 230. The guy's like, you stand next to him, he's a physical presence. And just what he brings to the offensive end, which with a 32-second shot clock. I don't think he's good enough to get drafted, but I'd be surprised if he wasn't picked up right away.
Is he a banker?
Again, I'm sure of it. I'd probably rely more on...
So if I'm Paul Carcaterra and I look at you and I say, if he's doing investment banking, I'm not drafting him, what are you saying to that?
Pick him up in the waivers. We're trading three picks for your guy that's a 2-year rental in the Army. It's like, give me the 2-year rental in IB. For nothing.
I like that.
I also
Ken,
do think that
you.
one fit that does make sense in my head is the Archers, Chris Bates. Love Sis, not his best season.
Yeah.
So I think that there could be something there where it's like, if Sis isn't playing his best ball, we got to get someone in there that, like, at least is an option.
I like that. Kev?
I'm going to go with a guy who I think was good enough to be drafted and just wasn't, probably because of need. But Ryan Craddock, goalie out of Princeton. Not a single goalie selected in this year's draft class, which isn't a huge surprise. But this draft is earlier than ever before. And I think that there's a lot of lacrosse left to be played in college. And we've seen how many times in the NCAA tournament, the hottest goalie leads their team. Princeton is top 3 in the country right now, and definitely a national championship contender. If they go all the way, they'll ride Ryan Craddock, and he has performances like he had against UNC earlier this year. I think he's going to be a guy on Memorial Day we're going to say, how was he not drafted? So Ryan Craddock is my pick, and I think that someone will pick him up rather swiftly.
Yeah, I want to go off that really quick because I kind of agree with you. Me and Hoagie were talking a little bit off air that when it comes to the goaltending position, I think that unless there's a generational talent in my opinion, like a Liam Entenmann, that you're like, we need a starter, you might not waste a draft pick on him. But where I do agree with you is how early the season starts, and these coaches, like Liam Entenmann's if Michigan makes a tournament, he might not be available week 1, right? So getting someone like Ryan Craddock makes more sense to me than picking up someone like Mike Adler, who hasn't played in 3 years. Now, I'm not saying that Ryan Craddock is better than Mike Adler. It's just, like Clark pointed out in the last episode, like Craddock plays for Princeton, but I always like the goalies like the Bonnies, where you're just seeing a bunch of rubber and they got like that 60% save percentage. Like, I love that. When you're seeing 25-plus shots like Ryan Craddock got against UNC, and you see those shots, you're saving it. So I agree with you, Kev. Like, I kind of did expect, given the earlier season, that Craddock would be the one to go out of all of them. But Sean Byrne's another one.
I was just gonna say Sean Byrne. If Plunkett's gonna be playing whatever, Sean Byrne. If Army doesn't somehow win the Patriot League,
those were the two that I thought.
That's a guy who can play right away.
Dukes, forgive me if I'm misunderstanding though. Aren't we expecting Craddock to go deeper in the NCAA tournament than Liam Entenmann with Michigan?
No. I said if Liam Entenmann makes the tournament in general.
Got you.
Craddock
will be there too.
Yeah, no, that's a fact, Kev. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I was just thinking the coaching aspect. I just had dumb brain right really quick. Excuse me, guys. No, that's a great point. Do you think that had anything to do with it then, Kev? Like that, this is a Final Four team?
No, I don't think so. I think it really just had to do with no one really needed a goalie that bad. The Redwoods were the one team that I thought maybe would, but I think he's going to, barring a big upset in the NCAA tournament, it looks right now like Princeton will be a Final Four team. Hoagie, they might be your national championship pick. They were your number 1 team in your poll.
They are my national championship pick.
Okay, so if they go to if they win the national championship with Ryan Craddock, all I'm saying is people are going to be like, how is this guy not drafted?
I think it will because the teams expected him to be on this type of run and then get picked up. I wonder when he'll get picked up.
Face-off guy dudes like you're talking about there. If you're not in that top unique spot, you don't really need to draft them. Like if you're not a Logan McNaney, Liam Entenmann, a Trevor Baptiste, T.D. Erlin, like a guy like Luke Weirman, who's been a multi-year starter for Denver, very solid pro face-off guy, didn't get drafted. I do expect next year Brady Wambach to get drafted because I think he's in that next tier of like, that's a kid you draft. Like we were talking off air about like would Cascading go late. I know Adam Lamberti said maybe the Whips were thinking about taking someone late, but I think goalies and face-off guys, if they're not like a surefire, like this guy's like stud, one of the best guys we've seen in that position in a couple of years, I think coaches now are content with those guys sliding back and not wasting a draft pick on them.
I want to go in really quick because I think that Kev just unleashed a really good point that I do wonder going into the future about the specialist positions where you might need depth and you're seeing them pick up people like Mike Adler where you know they're available. And then where do these guys that you think are going to go on runs, like these Cornell teams that have a face-off guy like Cascadin? Or you're just going to wait for like, all right, who gets out of the tournament first? Is it like Maryland with Henry Dodge or is it Cornell with Jack Cascadin and who do we pick up? Like, or do you pick them up right away? So that the whole moving pieces that Kev unleashed in my brain, I really appreciate as a podcaster myself.
A Wambach next year if UNC makes a Memorial Day weekend run.
But he's good enough. He's good enough. You wait. That's the point. Like it's the depth pieces that I'm saying is interesting.
Mitch, I'm gonna go for my undrafted guy. You touched on a little bit before. I agree with you. I think short stick D middies. They're like running backs in the NFL. You can get great value in them in rounds 3 through 7. You get great value out of guys in the short stick D midi position after the draft. I'm going with Jack Pilling from Richmond. I love his game. He's physical.
I like his game a lot.
The Italian.
Love his game a lot, and I think he's a guy that I think you hit more. There's a hit rate's higher on guys like a Jack Pilling, short stick D middies who went undrafted than drafting an attackman somehow afterwards. Obviously, you could still
Kind
hit,
of like
but
giving the Bonnie's take.
yeah.
So
So
you're getting these gritty guys.
you're just getting the gritty guys. He's physical. I love his game. He's been doing it for a couple years at Richmond. I think he's a guy that fits a PLL mold very well, and I think he's a guy that you need short stick D-middies in this league to be successful. We just saw the first short stick D-middie ever go #1 with Aiden McGuire to the Archers. It's a premium, Mitch. You see, when you have a top D-middie, Danny Logan, Ryan Terafenko, it really makes a difference on your squad. I think Jack Pilling, whoever picks him up, is going to be very happy with the return they get down the line, getting him as an undrafted player.
I think there's also just really quick. I know we all had to pick one. Bunch of Richmond guys, just in general.
Yep.
Was it for one of the top
O'Neal,
5 teams? For one of the top
O'Neal.
5 teams in the country, did they only have one player drafted in Hunter Smith? And like, you have Aiden O'Neal, you have Jack Pilling, you have Joe Sheridan. You have a lot of guys. And Dalton Young, he was drafted, 2 years ago? Or undrafted 2 years ago and picked up? All-star team last year. Like, could we see Aiden O'Neal kind of being that piece for someone like a Chris Bates to play the Dalton Young role?
There's a lot of good guys, too. I mean, Richard Checo, all-time leader in cause turnovers, is available. Alex Marnier, maybe he's not.
There it is.
He's a shooter only, Mitch. We talk about him. He doesn't have a dodging game, but in a game where he might be the 6th option.
Talking bad about the Buckeyes?
Maybe.
No, this is a
Hoagie.
plus for Marnie. He's the 6th guy, realistically, on a PLO offense. He'd be the last guy the defense is guarding. That's good for him because he's going to get open shots. That's the thing he's struggling with this year. But I think Rory Connor, too, finishing inside. Ton of good guys in the draft. So
There's so many.
I like that.
There's
I like
so
that.
many.
I like that.
Also,
would
I need to fit this in really quick. Marnie, I totally thought he was going to be a Holman guy, by the way. It just made sense.
Same.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be an archer.
Same. Before we go, Kev, Dukes, Hoagie,
Mitch.
one name, quick, who is going to be your potential pick for the #1 in 2027 draft? Kev, we'll start with the old guy. What do you got?
I'm going to go with Owen Duffy. UNC, sorry to steal it from you, Dukes, but I know Kark said Sean Light. I'm going with Owen Duffy still.
I'm going
Hoagie?
Mitch. Oh, dick.
Dudes, you can go because I'm trying to project who I
I'm
think.
going to go McCabe Miller.
Okay.
I like McCabe's production as a pro a lot. Almost, I'm talking myself into that as maybe the #1 offensive prospect. I do love the Owen Duffy pick. I agree with Kark. I do think it's going to be Sean Light.
Okay.
I really do. I think he's the best defender in college that I've ever seen. It's almost like that Aiden McGuire pick for defense. Like if Gavin Adler was picked #1 in the draft, no disrespect to Gavin Adler, like what Sean Light's been able to do in his career so far might be better than what Gavin Adler was able to do throughout his whole entire career.
Obviously, it's going to depend on the team, but we talk about generational players. Caleb Fyock, big tasty. To me, he is a Liam Entman top type goalie like that. Maybe not to Liam's level yet, but I think he is a level above a lot of the goalie prospects we've seen in this league. Big tasty. Dude's just baller.
I think that one that makes sense is a team that has another big goalie that's getting older. Chaos.
Chaos going from Blaze to Tasty? Wow.
And we'll end
That's a
all
lot-
that.
that's a lot of
See you
man in
guys. We'll see. Yeah.
As
Kev,
Mitch
you
would
called
say.
it. Yeah, I know. I was going to say something. We will see you guys
Say
next
it.
Tuesday. Peace.